Hi, from the right, I'm Chip Miller.
From the left, I'm Kurt Ehrenberg. Welcome to another edition of Inside the Issues.
Kurt, let me make three generalities about public services. The first is that the public, the people who get these services, don't appreciate them until they're gone or they don't live up to expectations. Two, most people think that public workers have it pretty easy. Number three, in a recession, most people think, or the general feeling is that public workers are protected from the results of the recession.
Well,
I think this makes for a pretty volatile situation.
And here in Portsmouth and across the country, there's a move on to privatize a lot of city services. Another generality we could talk about is when there's a downturn in the economy, people are always looking for quick fixes. There's a quick fix on the table right now, and we're going to talk about that today.
We're going to take a break for some messages, and when we come back, we'll ask our guests what they think about privatizing public services. Stay with us. That's it.
Headline News.
For news that's never out of reach, check in with CNN Headline News throughout the day. Catch up with the world the first thing every morning.
Not indicate how
Or
long
updates throughout the day, evenings after work.
Reaction to that interest rate.
As you're scanning channels, when you need the latest news, business, and sports, there's one network made to fit your schedule. Check in with CNN Headline News. Anytime, all the time.
Hello, this is Milt Wirtz in the lab. Research indicates that we Americans create garbage at an alarming rate. To alleviate disaster, I have come up with a solution. Worms, garbage-eating worms. This subspecies can go through a pound of garbage in no time, and I've got bigger ones out back.
There's an easier way to save the world. Recycle. For your free recycling action guide, write Recycle. Environmental Defense Fund, 257 Park Avenue South, New York, New York.
Showtime, comedy, summer. You want stand up? Spotlight each Friday, Saturday, and Sunday night. The funny ladies, the best of all in the ladies' nights. Best of all on the 4th of July. You laugh till you cry. Stand up for America with our comics, that's why. Need a summer, get away from the job. Watch City Slickers, and what about Bob? A new comedy every day and night means 99 days of sheer delight. Right. We got Kirstie Alley and Shelley Long and Eddie Murphy. Stop, listen to the song. Showtime, comedy, summer.
Hi, we're back. Our guest today to talk about privatization of Portsmouth City Services, Michael Dunbar, City Councilor, and Tom O'Connor, who is the Director of Communications and Education for Council 93 of AFSCME, which is the union representing about 300 workers in the city of Portsmouth. Is that right?
That's correct. Local 1386 here in Portsmouth.
Okay, Tom, wouldn't we get better, more accountable results if public services were privatized?
Absolutely not. And that's not something that's just from an ideological point of view, being a spokesperson for a union that has a workforce in the public sector here, but case after case across the country, when services are privatized, not only do you not get better accountability, the bottom line arguments of efficiency and cost savings are not there. It's a real sacrifice of the public to turn over these services to a private enterprise. It will not accomplish what is being sought here in the city of Portsmouth. It will not gain efficiency. It will not create competition. So it's a lose-lose situation for the taxpayers of Portsmouth.
Mike, let me ask you this. How far do you think the city should go in terms of privatizing? Would you do the police, the fire department, and right down the line? Or what do you think is important enough where you want to have the city still in control?
Well, let's back up a second and talk about what stimulated, I think, this show, and that is that Ken Mahoney, who is our city manager right now, is looking at, and remember, looking at privatization in some sectors of our city government as a way to make it run better and make it more cost-effective for taxpayers. We have a meeting set up with the City Council, a work session coming up this week, in which we will sit down and begin for the first time to talk about privatization. Until then, any discussion about privatization as occurred in the city government has been one-on-one. It has not involved the entire City Council for the first time it's going to.
But you do advocate it.
I am certainly curious enough about the possibilities to think that it's something that we ought to continue to explore. I'm also aware of the fact that we've got in government at all levels I think, well, let's say we have reached at all levels of government the ability for people to continue to pay for it. That we're going to have to find some ways to do things more efficiently and better in order to continue to provide to people what we are providing. I mean, we're sort of in a box. I mean, we're either going to continue to raise taxes, and we're going to do things the way we continue to do them, and continue to raise taxes, or we're going to find other ways to do things.
I want to address Tom's comment. I think you'll find that there have been attempts at privatization over the years, and your contention, your organization's contention also is that it hasn't worked. This doesn't mean that privatization doesn't work. This means, from my point of view, that there is a push for that. There is a reason that somebody wants to privatize. Something isn't working, as Mike said, in the public sector, and therefore we're looking for a way to do this better, to deliver the same or more services more cost effectively.
And we have no problem with that. The point of it is, though, managers are supposed to manage, and that means finding efficient ways to do things. And it seems to me that if you privatize, it's management finally saying, they're capitulating. They're saying, we can't do it anymore. Management doesn't have the skills, the abilities to direct the workforce, find different ways of doing things. So we're just going to give up and turn it over to a private company.
What about the cost-saving argument? You always hear this argument that you're going to save money in the budget.
It's not there. It's not there at all. What you end up finding is that companies will come in and do a low-ball bid to get their foot in the door, and within the lifetime of that first contract, costs start escalating way out of proportion with the actual inflation rates or the cost of doing the service. Once a community becomes beholden to a private enterprise, that means that they give up the equipment, they give up the workforce, then they're captive of that contract or that provider. And you know as well as I do, politicians are loath to have trash sitting on the streets in the summertime, and there's no better opportunity for a private enterprise to gain an unnatural advantage in a business situation than to use that equation in terms of politicians and being concerned for the public.
You guys are making the assumption, though, that once you go private, you're at the mercy of the market. And in fact, I mean, in every other setting, the customer is in charge. I mean, look at what happens to the auto industry. The American auto industry.
But there is no market. You're assuming that there's the same equation in the public sector. The taxpayers in the city don't have a choice where they get their water. They don't have a choice, for the most part, where they get their trash services.
No, but we have a choice of who can operate those services.
Fine. Well, that isn't what the notion of competition in the marketplace is. The notion is there's multiple providers, or there's multiple options for a customer to go out and choose, and that creates the alleged efficiencies of the private enterprise. But that isn't the case.
If I could jump in, I'm going to probably before the end of this term is out be forced to make some decisions about privatization. When I do, I am not going to take as at face value carte blanche statements by the union that it doesn't work. I will look at a lot of other
I'd ask
examples.
you just to read the newspaper.
Well, sure.
And there's case after case. I've got half a dozen sitting right here in front of me, right here close to home.
And have you ever